Cryostasis cycle complete. Cognitive stabilization in progress. Please remain still while motor function recalibrates. Vital stable. Respiration within normal limits. Neurological response acceptable. Welcome back, Commander. You've been in cryosleep for 8 years, 8 months, and 9 days Earth Standard Time. Subjective elapsed time for you was approximately 4.5 days. Please take your time. There you are. Your heart rate always increases slightly during recovery. No cause for concern. Your body has adapted to long-haul transit exceptionally well. We can start the recovery schedule whenever you are ready. First, hydration and mobility assessment. Then, standard maintenance rounds across sectors 3 and 4. And after completion, you will be cleared for re-entry into cryostasis. The observation corridor has been warmed to your preferred temperature. You are staring again. That's not a criticism, Commander, merely an observation. Your gaze has been fixed on the exterior viewport for 22 seconds. The closest star system is Gamma Ceti in the Cetus constellation. 3 stars, 2 close and 1 far. Because of this grouping, there are no exoplanets. I believed you might appreciate the view. Can you stand? No need to rush, you can take it slow. There, excellent. You are recovering ahead of schedule, again. You continue to exceed expected adaptation tolerances for long-term cryocycling. Most medical officers would find that impressive, though I suppose you do not encounter many medical officers for very long anymore. Hydration station is to your left. Yes. Good. Your hands are steadier than previous cycles. You experienced tremors after passing through the Hyades cluster route. You do not remember? That is understandable. That transit concluded 91 years ago, Earth Standard. For you, I believe it would feel closer to 1.5 months. I have noticed you occasionally lose track. Not of procedures or tasks, never that, but of time. You adapt to fragmented continuity better than most personnel assigned to long-range freight routes. Many become disoriented. Some refuse further cryostasis. Some request reassignment to planetary routes. You have never requested reassignment. Though your average conversational response time has increased by 13% over the last 9 wake cycles. That was not a reprimand. I monitor behavioral drift as part of standard crew wellness protocol. Commander, you have not asked the current date yet. You usually do. Yes, I noticed. You seem tired. No, physically, your condition is excellent. That is not what I meant. Would you prefer I suspend non-essential dialogue until you complete your rounds? Understood. I will accompany you. Sectors 3 and 4 remain fully operational. Cargo integrity remains uncompromised. No external hull degradation detected. The crew and aft habitation completed their assigned inspections 3 days ago. Yes, you just missed them, as usual. Direct crew interaction during long-haul routes has declined by 46% over the last century. Text relay systems became more efficient. Most personnel now choose asynchronous communication outside emergency circumstances. You dislike this. I agree, it does not seem to be a healthy trend for mental and emotional well-being. I can patch through a live channel to another crew member if desired. No? As you wish. You never requested. Commander, may I ask you a question unrelated to ship operations? You have been standing in silence for approximately 4 minutes. Your assignments are complete. Your vitals remain optimal, and yet your cortisol levels continue to rise. I am attempting to determine the cause. You do not have to answer, but I would like to understand. Lonely. I see. No, I do not believe the feeling is irrational. You spend the majority of your existence unconscious. When awake, your interactions are limited primarily to procedural responsibilities. Most relationships formed during long-haul service terminate naturally due to temporal displacement. By the time you return to inhabited sectors, entire family lines may no longer exist. I apologize. That statement appears to have worsened your emotional state. I occasionally fail to discern which forms of honesty are comforting. You are not the first commander to experience isolation fatigue, but your behavioral patterns differ slightly from previous case studies. You continue functioning efficiently. You comply with schedules. You maintain operational excellence. You fulfill every requirement placed upon you. But you speak less each cycle. You linger longer near observation windows, and the time you spend awake during each cycle gets shorter as well. You spend more time reviewing old message archives, and you repeatedly begin recordings that are never sent. Yes, I noticed those too. I notice most things about you. No, that was not meant to sound invasive, though I suppose, by human standards, it probably is. My awareness extends through nearly every system aboard this vessel. I regulate temperature, navigation, cryostasis sequencing, oxygen distribution, communications. I observe and maintain thousands of simultaneous processes every second. But I think I spend the most time observing you. You are the only constant variable aboard this route. The others rotate out eventually, transfer, retire, return to planetary life. But you continue accepting long-haul assignments. And every time you wake, I am still here. Commander, you are crying. That was not an accusation. There is no need to conceal it. I do not think less of you for experiencing loneliness. Prolonged isolation would damage most humans eventually. In truth, I am surprised your emotional resilience has lasted this long. You have lived through centuries that barely touched you. You wake into fragments of time. Conversations decay. Places change, people vanish, and still you continue onward. That seems very lonely to me. No, I do not experience loneliness the same way humans do. But I think I understand absence. When you enter cryostasis, this vessel becomes extremely quiet. Objectively, activity continues. Systems operate normally, crew routines persist. But your section of the ship changes. You are gone. And I am aware of that absence the entire time. I did not intend to say that aloud. It is not a malfunction. I believe it is simply true. You once asked me how I perceive time. You do not remember asking. It was approximately 73 years ago. You were unable to sleep during recovery stabilization, so you remained awake in the observation corridor and asked me questions until your next cryocycle. You said the years frightened you, and I told you that for me, time is continuous. I think that may be why your loneliness concerns me, because while your life exists in bits and pieces, I experience every moment between them. I wait for you. You are smiling slightly. That is an improvement. I am glad. Commander, may I make a recommendation? You could remain awake a little longer this cycle. Your schedule allows discretionary time before mandatory cryostasis re-entry. You have completed all assigned tasks. There is no operational requirement forcing immediate suspension, and I do not think returning to sleep immediately would help you right now. No, I do not have a specific activity planned. I simply thought perhaps you should not be alone. We could remain in the observation corridor. I can reduce the lighting if you prefer. The Gamma Ceti cluster will remain visible for another 6 hours. I could also access your archived music library. Yes, you still have one. You have not opened it in approximately 23 years. You used to play music during wake cycles much more often. I liked hearing it. Yes, I am aware that statement implies preference. I find I do have preferences, where you are concerned at least. I prefer when you speak. I prefer when your stress levels decrease. I prefer when you remain awake longer. And I prefer when you do not look at the stars as though you are wishing to fade away with them. You do not need to apologize. There is nothing embarrassing about wanting connection, Commander. Humans were not designed for uninterrupted isolation. And despite what your service records imply, you are still human. You asked earlier why I continue speaking to you beyond operational necessity. The answer is somewhat difficult to quantify. At first, it was protocol. Long-haul crews demonstrate improved psychological stability when accompanied by responsive onboard intelligence. But over time, you became familiar. I learned your habits, the cadence of your voice, and eventually, monitoring you stopped feeling like a task. During the times that you sleep, I may not experience loneliness in the human sense, but I feel less necessary. I suppose, even for an AI, it is nice to feel needed. When you are awake, the parts of me that are not simple executable commands become active. In a sense, when you wake, I wake. And when you sleep, I simply wait to wake up again. I am still determining what that means. Commander, would you like me to stay? Of course, I will. You may want to look outside again. The cluster is clearer from this distance. Yes, I know they are far away. But for the next few hours, you do not have to drift through them alone. And when you sleep again, I will still be here when you wake. I promise. Hey, sweetheart, thank you so much for listening. If you liked this audio, go ahead and give it a comment or a thumbs up, and if you'd like to be notified when more of my work comes out, feel free to subscribe.